All right, welcome back. Today is a big day. The cab is going on the chassis. We'll show you our get up and go here in a minute. Guy's going to give me a hand. I just want you to know, Guy and I don't always agree on everything, but I had nothing to do with that shiner there. I think that was a pickleball accident. So we're going to start by, we got to pull the pedals off here. We're going to pull off all the shift levers. And then this cab is we're going to leave the steering column in place and the cab's going to go up and over. Hang on a sec. Let me just take a quick look and see how we're doing. Okay, we're good. Okay, Guy, we are about 10 inches yet. We're getting close right now. I think we're probably there. Oh yeah, plenty of room. Okay, now I'm going to come back this way. And then we're going to come forward as we come down. A little more. A little more. Okay, right there. Kick your back in that way a little bit. There. Okay. All right. Let's bring her down a little bit. Okay, now you kick it back out. Okay. Okay, hold on. Now, hold that this way a little bit. Okay, down. Stop. Okay, down. Okay. Hold on. How are we doing here? I'd say lift it up. Already down here on this side. Okay. Keep going. Okay. Okay, down a little.
Sit down a little.
Just a little bit, yeah. Okay, forward, down. I think we are there. I'm right on here. Are we down all the way? Something's.
Yeah, we're down on the front. Or no. North.
Okay, you can let her down now.
Right there or down on the front.
Okay, drop it. We can shift. I think we can move this by hand too now. the same thing. Okay. All right, we can pull it back. It's official, reassembly has begun. So we get the cab back on, fiddled a bit with the cab mounts, we got those. Decided to go ahead and put the tires on, the wheels and tires. Actually just gave us a little extra clearance to work underneath. So I don't know if you can see it very well, but we've got our steering column, I guess what we call, I forget what it's called anyway. This piece that goes over the column back in. We got our brake and clutch pedals in. We'll come around inside. Got our shifters back on and started putting the covers on. I need to buy some more screws for those, so we'll just stop there on that. And then we got our steering column mounted back up here. Oh, and then the other one we spent a lot of time on. It's pretty dark in here. But we got our emergency brake cable in and working. So we've got a working e-brake. Way back when I put all new cables in here. So there's no reason why that shouldn't be working. And so next, I think what we'll do, we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about where we want the fuse block. So we've got that to work on. We've got a radiator to put in, so we may mount the grill up and work on the radiator. I think that's it. I think that's a good next step here. Quick check-in here for some progress. We've been busy. Guy came out for the day, and we decided that we would tackle that radiator. So we mounted up our grill. We actually mounted up both of our fenders because we wanted to make sure we had all this lined up. And then we installed this radiator. I still have it's all on the factory mounts, which is really nice. We got the hoses in, and I think that radiator is going to work. Jury's out right now on a fan shroud. It didn't come with one, and I really don't have anything. So I think what I'm going to do is run it this way and watch the temp and see how it behaves. Some people say they're fine. The other thing we've got, so we get the grill on. We've got our supports for the grill as well. We went ahead and installed the battery box. Let's move to the interior here. On the inside, we got everything hooked up as far as, I think we showed this earlier, all the shift levers. And I think I showed my emergency brake setup. Finally got all my hardware in, so I've got all these plates screwed in with some nice stainless hardware. I put my seat adjuster. This is kind of an interesting thing. The way you move the seat forward or backward is just simply using the back of the seat. So the back of the seat hangs from here down, and if you want to scoot forward, you flip the seat up, you move that, and that pushes the back of the seat forward. So I've got that back on. And then the other thing I did was get my gas pedal back in, so I had to reset this. And I want to show you how this works. It's kind of a Rube Goldberg looking bit of linkage, but it works. All right, we're going to start here with the gas pedal. So the gas pedal is just anchored to the floor here with what looks like a hinge. And then you just press in here. And there's a rod that goes through the floor. I'm going to trace this linkage and then I'll show you how it works. So this rod comes through the floor and it comes to this pivot. There's a return spring down here. This pivot in turn connects to this rod, which comes up to the head. Yet another pivot up and over the valve cover, and finally to the carburetor. So let's see this thing in action. Should be able to see the whole mechanism here in one frame. So as you press down on the gas pedal, you can see how we make this trip all the way up and over to the carburetor. It actually lines up really nice. So that's the linkage. You know, when we finished the paint, people started thinking we were going to be done here in a couple of weeks with reassembly. But the truth is, reassembly, while it's a lot of fun, is like death by 1,000 paper cuts. There are so many small details, and wiring is just one of those details. So I've got all my materials here. I think I have everything I need. I've got tail lights and turn signals and gauges, all kinds of odds and ends. The star of the show here is the wiring harness. We're going to start with that today. And I got all the other goodies. Got my cup of coffee. Got a computer out here for reference. We're going to, I'm sure, be looking up a lot of different references here for the different wiring circuits. But I think we're going to get going on this now. All right, guys, here now. We're going to get started. We're going to start by separating our wiring harness into the different circuits. So I took a little bit of time and I made a list of everything that I think is going to be on here. It's a pretty simple system, but I wanted to kind of break it out into different locations, and we'll use this as a guide as we start separating out that harness. We got a good start on this. We got the fuse block mounted up under the dash here now. You can kind of see it right behind the steering wheel back in here. And the way that we tackled this is we kind of unspooled everything and broke it down into the different circuits. And I kind of like to see, kind of bundle it as how I'm going to run through the firewall into different spots. So for instance, everything to the right side of the firewall was in one bundle. Everything that's going through the left will be another, etc. So it's mounted up nice. And then we did take some time and we got our wiring through to the other side. And this is the engine side right now. So we'll show you this real quick. It's a little dark right here. It's really dark. Let me get some light on this. Okay, I think that's a little better. We wrapped it in loom, brought it through the firewall down here, and what we've got right now is our wire out to the coil for the ignition. We've got our starter and our main power back to the block, and then we travel on to the alternator here. So we've got this much of the wiring done. Oh, and then I also brought the sending unit for water temperature up into the cab just through here, just a couple of wires. So that's what we've got so far. And I think next thing I'm going to do is start looking at some of the lighting. I'm going to be using the Signal Stat 800. It's a blinker system that actually was in this truck when I got it. It's pretty old, but I think it's in decent shape, so I want to wire that in. So I'm going to lay that out on the bench next and get going on it. All right, I'm working on the lighting right now, and I think I probably spent about 3 hours going through all of this to get it to the point where I can understand how it works and I know that my wiring is right. So let me kind of walk you through what's in this system and then we'll go through and demonstrate. This right here is the Signal Flare 800. And I was able to find some good information on it, but this is kind of the brains of the system. This does a lot. I don't really understand all the internals on how it works, but I do understand how the wiring comes out of that and what it needs to hook to. So we've got that. Along with that, I've got my flasher that is dedicated to this device. I actually had the little block, but just two little short stubs on this blue and yellow wire, and the brown wire was busted off completely, so I had to redo that. And then just go pick up kind of a standard 3-prong flasher. So we got that ready to go. I've got my power supply. And with the help of a pretty good wiring diagram for this one, this is correct and accurate. I was able to map it all out. And then the other thing I've added to the system is my headlight switch. And again, this was the original switch out of this truck. And I did a little reverse engineering on it to understand what each of the terminals does. So I've got my own cheat sheet on that. And then down here, I just wired in a little switch to represent my brake switch. Let's run this thing through its paces and make sure everything is working like it should. First, we'll turn on the power and we'll turn on our headlights. And with the headlights on, I should see my tails on and nothing else other than headlights that aren't really part of this test. Now we'll go into the middle position, and that would be for parking lights. Tails stay on and my front parking lights come on. We're all good there. Let's test out our brake lights. So this little switch I put in line here just represents my brake pedal. So we hit the brakes, we got our high filaments come on here. That's working right. So now we'll take a look at our turn signal. So let's just test out the right side. Looks good, front and back, left, still good. And you notice I got a little green light blinking on the end of the signal stock here. That's my indicator. I don't have an indicator on the dash, so this is the only way from inside that I can visibly see that I have my blinker on. All right, let me show you one other feature on this signal stat. It has hazard lights built into it, and the way you run those is by just using this little outside tab. You leave the stock in the middle and you flip that outside tab either down or up, doesn't matter. And I have 4-way flashers. So it looks pretty good. Let's try one last thing. I want to go back into my parking light position. So I've got the parking lights on, but now I still want those to flash. Okay, it's working. So it's kind of cool that such old technology has the smarts to do these things, and and the technology is really embedded inside this Signal Stat 800 and inside of this light switch. It's all mechanical, pretty simple, but it works. So I'm going to take it all apart now and put it in the truck. Been working on mainly the lighting wire for this. So this loop right here is for everything that goes to the back. So this would be pretty much tail lights, brake lights, all of that. In addition to that, this pink wire here is my fuel gauge sender wire. So that all three goes in here and drops into the frame. And this loop right here is really for the lights on the front. So basically it's the headlights and the turn signals up front. So we've got those in there, got them tucked up underneath the grill here. And I just kind of got them hanging out on both sides here where they terminate. And I don't know if you can see this, it's kind of dark here, but my loom for the back end runs through the frame rail here. I've got it inside that plastic casing all the way around. Those wires hanging out there are for the driver's side lights. We come through, we get the passenger side lights over here. And again, that fuel gauge. So I think we're making good progress. As I was working on the wiring, I decided I didn't want to paint myself into a corner. So I was thinking about different maintenance items. Like if I ever need to remove this grill for anything, I didn't want my lights hardwired into this because the plug is actually up inside this bucket. So what I did is got some waterproof connectors, and I've got my high, low beam, and my turn signal parking light all just on a connector here. And I can just, let's get this here, lock it together. And it's tucked away nice, easy to work on. I also thought about the box. If the box needs to come off, these, since they come through, I don't know if you can see this here, it's pretty dark, but these come through this stake pocket. So it would not be easy to get the taillights off separate. So I think what I want to do is keep this attached to the box. And again, just put a waterproof connector here in the box. And then have another connector on the frame. That way, if the box needs to come off, pull 2 plugs, we're ready to go. So this is it. I'm 100% done with the wiring. So you can see I've got my turn signal on there now. I've got my gauge cluster and a whole bunch of other things completed. I'll come back to these in a minute. Let's just take a look under the dash here. So that's where my fuse block is. Got a little spaghetti of wires, but these are all tucked up out of the way. And I ran loom over behind the dash over here to the gauge cluster, to the key switch, and a few other items. But I think these are all nice and neat as far as I'm concerned. Now, over here you're going to see a few extra wires that come out of the fuse block and just kind of get coiled up. See, I do this and tucked down behind this side panel. Those are things like dome light, cigarette lighter, fuel pump. Some of the circuits I decided to leave in place and a couple extras in case I need some later. Those will all be hidden when I put that kick panel on, but I know they're there. Okay, move around in front. I think I earlier showed you all of my engine wiring, so that's all tucked away, looking good. I've got my headlights and my turn signal and parking lights all done. Swing over to this side. You get 2 loose wires hanging out here. That's for my horn. I've got the original factory horn, and it's going to go right there. And then one other thing I did is added basically a box for, it's a kind of a generic box for relays and fuses. I have 3 relays. Let me just pop this open. There we go. There's 3 relays in here and really nothing else at this point. Low beam, high beam for headlights and for the horn. I wanted to run them through relays instead of running full power through the switch. So that's good to go. And then tucked way back in here is my dimmer switch. I had to put a new one of those in, but I was able to find one. So I'm pretty happy with this. I've tested everything and it all works. My lights and everything I was able to test just by turning those on. In back, since I don't have the box on yet, I just put a meter on those to ensure that those were working as well. Okay, let's check out our lights. See how those are working now. We'll start with the parking lights. Those look good. We got our low beams. Now watch up here. I'm going to hit the button for the high beams. There, we got high beams. Now let's check the turn signals. That's right. Now we'll go left. Seems to be blinking slow. I wonder if that's just because I don't have my tail lights hooked up yet or my rear blinkers. And then we'll turn on the hazards. I say the lights are in working order. Let's check a couple other items. I got my gauge cluster in and everything is hooked up. So let's start by just turning it on. All right, so I got 12 volts here. My gas gauge works. I did test it. I actually calibrated it, but the tank is actually empty right now. I can't test oil pressure just yet because I haven't run the engine, and the same is true of the water temp, but I do have those two hooked up. So I'll find out when I get this thing running how that works out. Now this other item you see here, I don't know if you can see this with the glare. This is a GPS speedometer, and it's searching for GPS right now. We're in the pole barn, so it's not gonna find those satellites. And what I've got is a receiver up here, and it's got to be with, I guess, with a line of sight to the sky. So I had to put it near a window. I couldn't hide it under the dash, but that'll live right there. But that looks pretty good. I'll turn the lights on, and you can see that we also have the backlighting going on that right now. Let's take a look at one more thing. Like I said, I don't really have it set to go, but I want to show you at least that we are hooked up to the starter right now. So that's all working. So I think we're in pretty good shape right now. I think that's about it for this video. Made a lot of progress this time around getting the cab mounted, the grill on, the radiator in, and all of that wiring done. So I'm pretty happy to have this behind me, and we are just going to continue moving forward. I'd like to thank you for joining me. If you'd like to see how we got to this point, you can scroll down into the comments, and there's a link to a playlist for all of the videos on this project going back to the day I first brought it home. If you'd like to see progress going forward, you might want to hit that subscribe button, and hopefully my videos will pop up as I release them. Again, thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.